Okay. Holy cow, it's warm this morning. Look at that. That is nasty looking. And I still got the fans going. Oh. It's only supposed to be 99 degrees here in DFW today, and I don't know, that's kind of a break from, I guess, being 107 on the regular. But we'll I don't know, we'll have to see. I've got a cup of coffee here, and hey, hush, hush. Look at those girls. We're gonna give everybody a chance to join here. Probably fire up in just about another minute. All right. What we're going to be talking about is really a couple of questions that folks have asked related to the car, like, you know, what's its purpose? What are you going to do with it? Some technical questions on, like, some square body stuff. Somebody asked a question about sliders. I think is pretty good. I can answer a little bit of that. Give you guys a preview into the next video, which is going to come out next Sunday. That's all shot and edited, and we're just doing the final touches on it. Mostly going to show you around kind of what I've got put together and what we're covering, right? Just a weekly kind of touch point with y'all. So let's go ahead and start. First things first, good Sunday morning. I've got coffee in the cup, and I am ready to roll, y'all. So first things first, I'm going to fail on who asked the question, and please forgive me, but somebody asked, it says, what the heck are you building the car for, right? Like, tell us what the purpose is. You're putting in all this suspension and chassis design. And I think it was in the last video when I started showing like roll cage designs, somebody piped up and goes like, you know, hang on a minute, Professor. What are you putting the roll cage in there for? Like, why don't you explain to us a little bit what your plans are? Very fair question. I'll start with what my plans are and why I was talking about a roll cage, because it's not necessarily like a roll cage per se, but more like an upper chassis. So the car is going to be intended to be what you would call ProTouring, right? That's the kind of conventional term now. There's a subset of that you would consider also, maybe this is the other way around, Grand Touring, which is generally the same thing as ProTouring, lots of good handling characteristics, but you can hold 4 people. So it's a big car, right? And this is exactly where I left you at the last video. But as a preview to the next video, all that stuff goes on. All of that stuff goes on the front. I have pulled it back off for the next little sub-project that I got to work on. Because in the name of doing Pro Touring, Grand Touring, it's really all about, well, I'll just cover for folks where that might be a new term to some folks. Pro Touring is specifically taking an old car, putting a lot of new stuff in it, and making it handle well, right? The idea being is, let's take an old Dodge Charger, Camaro, Mustang, all of that stuff, throw a bunch of modern parts in it, and make it drive like a new Corvette or a new Camaro, all that stuff, right? And you can do that with a lot of the parts that are available today. That's my aspiration with this. And so Grand Touring just says we're going to put 4 passengers in and do the exact same thing. 911 Carreras are kind of like the granddaddy of Pro Touring, in that Grand Touring rather, and that they've been able to hold 4 passengers for a long time. They go fast and handle well. We're going to do the same sort of idea. I think the 4th passenger though, it might just be that girl right there. Hey, Harry Bear. Yeah. It could just be her. She and Oralee might just be the 4th passengers. It could just be my wife and me who are doing most of the driving around. And I think based on the creature comforts that I'm going to have or not have in the car, even that might be a little bit of a trick, but we'll see. In any case, the purpose for having a cage in it, and I showed you the cage designs that I was piddling with, don't think of it so much as like a roll cage. It's not about like rollover protection in like an off-road sense or like a racing sense, as much as it is that's the upper part of the chassis. And I'll explain why. Chassis rigidity, both in terms of beam strength and roll resistance. And pause for a second. If there's a bunch of background noise, I'm in the middle of the shop and I have all the fans going. It's already pretty warm, so I'm sorry for the background noise. I will speak up, but it's pretty nasty out here at the moment. I'm just going to keep it going. But about a chassis, right? Let's see if we can get this. So I'm going to point to these different members and I'm going to explain the purpose of the roll cage, right? Which I'm going to continue to use that term, but do please think of it as upper chassis. chassis rigidity is determined by the height of the chassis member. So the best way that I think to think of this is to take like a 2x4, which I have over here. Take a 2x4, and if you turn a 2x4 on end, right, you can take a 2x4 or a 2x12, lay it flat like this, and they will all break. When you put a load on the center of them, they'll all break vertically at about the same strength. Said another way, laid on its edge, a 2x12 is not really any stronger, not meaningfully, than a 2x4. But you turn that sucker vertically, and it's a world difference. The 2x12 is like, I'll get this wrong, but directionally, it's like 100 times stronger than a 2x4. And that's why roofs, like 2-story roofs, are made out of 2x12s and all that sort of stuff. The frame members here are 2x4s, real 2x4s, not dimensional lumber that's 1.5 by 3.5. That's 2 inches across and 4 inches tall. And you think, golly, that's way better than the unibody that they had. And sure, but all in all, from bow to stern, if you've got just a bunch of 2x4 in there, it's actually not as stiff as it really should be. The unibody, the genius of the unibody is it's separated the lowest part of the frame member from the uppermost. So remember, height of the frame member is what determines rigidity. Therefore, if you have a roll cage or upper chassis, the actual height of your chassis is from the bottom of this here to the top of this here. Purpose for that being is like, instead of it being 4 inches, dude, it's like almost 4 feet. And that gets a lot of rigidity. And that's true when you go, just imagine that you've got all this tube work in the car, and from the bottom to the top of 4 feet tall, 4 foot tall unibody race structure, like that gets real stiff real fast. Not just torsionally, yes, but also beam strength, front to back. That is why I'm fiddling around with the idea of a roll cage. Ultimately, I want it to be the only spring that I want are the springs that go on the coilovers. I don't want the body to twist, bend, and act like a spring, right? Because it's not controlled. So that is why we're talking about a roll cage. You guys asked a question about that. I thought it was a good one. I don't really address it in the next episode, but I will in future ones, especially as we start implementing the design. But that's just a little preview. I didn't want that question to go unanswered. That type of design work where you're implementing chassis height and specific chassis members, like that's what I love, man. I really dig on that stuff. All right. Now, if there are any other questions that you guys have, let's see, all chats are visible. There we go. Any other questions you guys have, be sure to ask them here. I'm going to go through 2 more that were up on the channel. One person asked a specific square body question, and then somebody else asked a diesel question. I'm going to answer those 2 here pretty quickly. Square body, about sliders. Somebody asked, hey, I had them built and had them attached to the frame. Do I attach my sliders to the frame and the body? Because I think what they were concerned about was like, you attach it just to the frame, and then when you hit, it comes up and it might impact the body. Darn right it will. Like those C-channel frames, right? It's an open frame member. If you just have it attached here and it's cantilevered out to protect the body, absolutely it will twist. Go back, and for the person who asked that question, go back and look at, hey baby, be cool, it's cool. Go back and look at the first BDR prep video. I think the thumbnail has like my Magnum on it. It's where they do I get ready for the Oregon trip. It's from a few weeks ago. I start with a view of the entire trussing structure that ties my sliders together, where no, I don't attach them to the body. I did that once and rattled all the fillings out of my teeth. So I attach them to each other. And so it's basically one big V-hole all the way under the truck. That's my recommendation. It's a lot more tube work and fabrication, but works good. Second thing, somebody asked about turbo on my engine on the blue truck. And that's, it's basically an HX40. Built from an HE351 CW, which is a mouthful to say a 3540 hybrid, so in the whole set world. And nothing wrong with running an HX35. I think that's what the person asked about when they were building it. It's just kind of small, right? It's kind of a small turbo, very responsive. You don't necessarily need an intercooler because you're running probably 1 pound, 1 atmosphere of pressure. But an HX40 just has great flow characteristics, 60 or 62 millimeter inducer, depending on how you have it machined, and then a big, nearly 3-inch exhaust port. So it flows very nicely and pushes a lot of air. Pretty necessary because I also have the Duramax intercooler on the blue truck. I think I'm going to go do a whole like walkthrough of the engine for all the stuff that I didn't answer during the engine build. Chris and I talked about shooting one of those just to make sure that you guys have like a full build sheet and all the breakdown of how that went together. But I think we're probably going to, unless you guys have questions. Hey, good morning from Pennsylvania, Dirt Freak. Good morning to you. Hope you got coffee. And anyway, I think we're probably going to wrap it up here. I wanted to go through and answer those couple, give you guys a peek at that. Cannot wait for you to see the next video. It is absolutely, it's all about that. And it is, I won't lie, it's probably the video I'm the most proud of so far, having put together. It's got a new look, a new feel, like everything is shot a little bit differently. I can't wait for y'all to see it and tell me what you think. But I don't know, it had a great feel of shooting it. Chris and I spent a few hours doing it, and we worked hard to put it together. And I think that's going to be the mode that we're going to go to, is probably doing a live every other week, and then a pretty good sized video maybe every 2, depending on the size of it, possibly every 3 weeks. It takes a lot of work to do this stuff, and rather than just throw you guys empty calories of candy of just, doing this type of stuff and hitting you with it every single week, I think we want to do like bigger, higher quality stuff that is more engaging, that you're willing to sit down and spend some time with, because that reflects the amount of time that we spend putting this stuff together. Day job. I do have a 9-to-5. I'm basically a sales guy, and my background is I'm an engineer by training, so I don't use that in my day job, but I did a lot of school for it. So I'm pretty comfortable with math and sketching stuff out, and but actually the whole point of this next video is to say sometimes you should just trust what you see. And sometimes it's about, using your visual instincts and not just the math, not just designing, with software or based on the numbers, but trust your instincts, trust what your eyes tell you. And anyway, that's my background, is design and engineering. And I came to fabrication kind of accidentally, but got started welding, and then it just grew from there. Look, anything else, ask in this video, and I'll be sure to address in the next live. Again, next Sunday we got a full-length video coming out, and then we'll do another live after that. We'll just keep the cycle of good Q&A going. So, look, you guys are huge parts of this channel. It doesn't work without you. So I appreciate you being here, and I'll see you next week. Okay, take care. And stop.